Hi, I'm Joss Amzo. I'm here to tell you a story about one of our best-selling dog foods called Grandma Z's Idaho Fish and Potatoes. 7 or 8 years ago, my dad was a volunteer with the Ada County Sheriff's Association, and he was in a ride-along with some of the canine dogs that the sheriff used. The officer that was the handler of the particular dog had to stop periodically and test blood sugar and some other things with these wonderful dogs. And it became clear that this was an issue that a lot of high performance dogs were facing. And the officer that was the handler said to my dad, "Jim, I wished you'd invent a dog food that could solve some of these problems." And if you know my dad, you know that he takes that as a challenge. So he went to work trying to figure out how he could build a dog food that would not cause these blood sugar issues, insulin resistance, or in people, would be like a type 2 diabetes type of situation. And so the trend at the time was to talk about grain-free dog foods. And there were a few brands on the East Coast that began building some products that didn't contain any grain, but they were using primarily tapioca, which is a root. It's just fiber for all practical purposes. And while it doesn't do any harm, it doesn't contribute in a meaningful way. My uncle, who has a tremendous amount of experience in formulating dog foods, but also works with a lot of sport dogs, hunting dogs, that type of thing, he piped in that a lot of hunters and high performance handlers have been using potatoes in situations where dogs had blood sugar issues or allergy issues, and they decided they would use Idaho potatoes instead of tapioca, since that's what we had. And then they began working on the protein source. And one of the issues that's caused in the industry, especially in the grain-free, is they might have 3 or 4 different sources of protein. Might have chicken and lamb and turkey and duck and all different types of things. And each different type of protein is another source of a potential allergen. When it comes to the protein, we were looking for a local source protein. And while we don't raise a lot of chickens in Idaho, we do have fish. And so as they began to investigate a dog food that would contain fish and potato, what they started realizing is some of the problems that other grain-free foods have, one primarily being a lack of taurine, which has been in the news quite a bit lately. Fish, as a source of protein, contains taurine. So that is no longer an issue. So now they've got fresh Idaho fish and fresh Idaho raised potatoes. So we do like we've always done in the Zamzo family, which is we build a batch of this dog food and begin trialing it with people that we know. And when the original concept was to solve some of these blood sugar issues, we were able to do that even with the very first batch. What we didn't expect was this tremendous performance improvement when it came to allergies. So dogs that were having hot spots and itchy paws and doing a lot of biting and chewing on themselves, ear infections and all kinds of other things that are related to allergies, we solved even with the first batch. And the more trial feeding we did of that product, the more excited we got. And the end result was Grandma Z's Idaho Fish and Potato. My recommendation would be, if you've got a dog that gets chronic ear infections or has itchy spots and you find yourself literally, figuratively chasing your tail, trying to figure out what can this dog eat that won't cause allergy problems, I recommend that you try Grandma Z's Idaho Fish and Potato. If you've got blood sugar issues like they were facing in the Sheriff's Department, I strongly recommend you try Grandma Z's. This grain-free Idaho Fish and Potato is a wonderful product.